random objects around Miss Meisner's house. So, let's get started. Let the search begin. Ooh, I found some pencils. Adding 7 pencils to my data table. 7 pencils, so I'm going to make 7 tally marks. Pencils. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh no, when I get to 5, I can't just keep going. I'm going to cross it out because it's easier to count once I have a lot of tallies by 5s than it is to count by 1. So I'm going to start here, 5, 6, 7. I found one basket. Okay, and I only found one basket, so I'm going to put 1 there. I found some boxes. Found 1 box. Found 2 boxes. 3 boxes. We have to go add that to our tallies. Alright. Rolls. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We need to add that to our tallies. Added it. Pencils is all the way to 7. Baskets, we only have 1. Boxes are at 3. Paper towel rolls, we had 5. We're looking at a data table, just like the graph that we just did. And then they took that data table and they put it onto this bar graph. So this is called a bar graph. Bar graph. Why do you think it's called a bar graph? Probably because of these bars right here. So they go all the way to the number, and I have to figure out, in order to read it, which number it lines up with. So this one lines up with 3. This one lines up with 5. This one lines up with 6. And this one lines up with 8. And if I look, these are the same numbers that are on my data table over here. Alright, our strategies for graphs is pretty easy. It's the word tickle.
Kitty.
No, it's a silly word. Tickle. So I'm going to write tickle. T-I-C-K-L-E. And each letter stands for something. So the T stands for title. The I stands for interval. An interval is what we're counting by. So if you look here, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They're only counting by 1s, but other times you're going to have a graph where it might be counting by 2s, it might be counting by 5s, it might be counting by 10s. So that's why we have to notice the interval. Then the C is the categories. If it's a name, whatever the topic is. Okay, the K is for the key. In this problem, there is no key because everything's, they're only counting by 1. But in some problems, you're going to see a key. In our picture graph, you might see a key. Okay, L, label, because we have to label all of these numbers here. And if we don't label them, then we're not showing our graph strategies. And now the E is for evaluate. Fancy word for solve. So whatever the question's asking, that's what I'm going to evaluate. Okay, so looking, my title, I'm going to label it right here. It's goldfish names. That's my title. I can label the whole word, or I can just put a T. I'm fine with that, whatever helps you. I just want you to start noticing all of these different things, because if you don't notice the interval and you don't notice the key, then you might get confused and you might solve all of the problems incorrectly. Okay, so on these problems it's going to be easy because the interval is just 1, but you may notice on problems when you get to 3rd grade that the interval is not always going to be 1, and so that's why I want you to start noticing it now. Then we have the interval, that's right here, so you can label it interval, or you can just put an I, and you can even put 1 so that you know that the interval is 1. The categories in this problem, we have the categories are the names. Okay, and then we have the key. We don't have one in this problem, so I'm actually going to put a cross on the key so that I remember, oh, this one doesn't have anything. Label, I labeled all of my numbers, so I'm done with that part. And then evaluate. Evaluate is to solve. It says, how many students voted for the name Goldie or the name Rocky? So I have to look at both. I can't just look at one, I have to look at both. So I'm going to look at Goldie first. And it says I can look here or here. It's the same information. It's just a different way to organize it. So we know that Goldie has 3 and Rocky has 6. I like to put them with the name down here in the problem so that I know exactly what number goes with who. So because it says or, we need to add these two numbers together. So we're going to combine them. We're going to add 3 plus 6 equals box. So if you know off the top of your head what 3 plus 6 is, then you are on fire. If you don't, you can start with 6 and you can count up 3 more. So 6, 7, 8, 9. So we know our answer here is 9 students voted for Goldie or Rocky. Okay, number 2. How many fewer? Oh, fewer. What does that mean? Fewer. Fewer means smaller. Students voted for the name Flash than the name Rocky. What am I doing? I see fewer than. Anytime I see more than and fewer than, usually I'm going to compare. We draw that triangle on the word than because it's like a balance scale. We're comparing Flash's number to Rocky's number. So we're going to figure out Flash's number. Again, we have to look at our table or our graph. It's the same information, it's just organized a different way. And we know that Rocky has 6. Once again, I'm putting my numbers by the name so I don't get them confused. Now, when I'm subtracting or comparing, I have to figure out which number I need to put first. With 6, and I'm going to subtract 6 minus 5 equals box. This one should be super easy, and you should know it quicker than I can even tell you. 6 minus 5 gives you 1, because if I take 5 away from 6, that gives me 1 left, which means there are 1 fewer students that voted for Flash than Rocky. Okay, number 3. Which name got 2 more votes than Rocky? So we're looking for 2 more votes than Rocky. Rocky has 6. So we're going to add 6 plus 2 more to get the number that we're looking for here. So what is 6 plus 2? 6 plus 2 is 8. Now, they're not asking you for what 6 plus 2 is. They're asking you for which name. That's the who. Who is it? Okay, so now I need to figure out who has 8 votes. So I'm going to go up here and look for 8. Oh, look, Bubbles. So my answer is Bubbles, not 8. Okay, number 4. Which name did the fewest students vote for? Fewest. Smallest. The least. Whatever number or whatever word helps you remember what fewest means. So we're looking for the name that had the fewest votes. That means the smallest, which is Goldie. Okay, page 51. So we were talking about graphs. The last page that we did was on bar graphs. This one is going to be on picture graphs. So you'll notice the difference right away. What do you see in our graph? We see a lot of pictures. So it kind of looks like a data table because we have our names and then we have our information here. But because our numbers aren't just listed, it's called a picture graph. When they have a picture graph, they're going to use some type of symbol or picture to represent the numbers. So if you notice down here, this is the key. It's saying that, I'm going to label it key. Each smiley face equals 1. So sometimes they might have where each smiley face equals 2, 3, and you have to count by different numbers. But right now they're telling you that each smiley